So I think a lot of people will miss that image. That's okay. And then I took a picture of myself. I still have a lot of my original gear that I borrowed from the military. And so I stood in front of a mirror, kind of like looking back at my own reflection, had the camera set off at my like 5 o'clock, took a picture of me staring into the mirror. Then I superimposed a skull into my reflection. And on top of my Kevlar helmet, I put the Statue of Liberty crown on top of it. So I'm looking back at my reflection as an ambassador of, you have all the talking points from the early days of GWOT. Oh, you're an ambassador of freedom. They hate us because of our lifestyle. We need to expand democracy, as if anything's changed from the Cold War. We need to expand democracy. Now, are we the domino theory? Are we the ones that are just knocking off countries to expand our democracy?
Yeah.
Because in the heart of every little brown man that we've bombed the shit out of, there's a little democracy in them that's just dying to get out.
Right.
So I wanted, and I started thinking, what's our chief export? What is America's chief export? We export war.
Yeah.
And so then I started thinking, all right. Then I noticed as I'm in my creative process is the panels of the 9/11 towers were striped. Okay. What if those stripes double as the American flag? All right. But what's the point? I'm saying there's a problem in this country. There's a problem in not the direction we're on. It's the direction we've already taken. It's not the city on the hill that Reagan talked about. We way past that. And I don't know if we were ever there. When people talk about make America great again, I agree with the naysayers that don't like that saying. Is like, at what point? What era are you talking about? Because the city on the hill that Reagan talked about, when was that? If you really when you really look into the context of history, when was that? And not necessarily for all people. I'm talking empirically. You can always pick a demographic and say, well, it wasn't good for them, so it must have been shit. No, I'm just empirically, when was the city on the hill? And most people be like, oh, the greatest generation, World War II. Okay. But then there's problems with World War II. There's problems of whether, we knew about Pearl Harbor and we used it and allowed it. Same as Churchill breaking the enigma and allowing towns to be bombarded and tens of thousands of people. There's caveats to all parts of history.
Yeah.
So I used the 9/11 flag, the towers as part the stripes of the flag, and I flipped the flag upside down as a sign of distress. And then in the red bands of the towers and the flag, I just did a simple Google search. Top 10 companies that made the most money because of the global war on terror. Who got the richest because of our involvement? Because you could always look back and, okay, well, when did Al-Qaeda leave Afghanistan? When had we effectively won the battlefield? 2001. What are we still doing there 20 years later then? You never let a tragedy go to waste. All right. Well, the obvious one, and I'm not going to say all their names right now. Sure. Thankfully, I'm covered. Obviously Cheney will go down as the biggest crony of them all with his Halliburton stock.
You're kind of mentioning like Smedley Butler talked about war is a racket. He wrote the book on that. Kind of the first modern post-industrial, society of I believe it was something like where the Rockefellers came to him and was like, hey, can you overthrow these motherfuckers? Because you're like the fucking hero after World War I. And he's like, no, fucking thank God for that guy to some degree. But yeah, and you're hitting on the same point, dude. It's like where does the line, where's the fucking line in the sand of I
don't think there's any lines. It's so convoluted.
Right, yeah. It's like how many trillions of dollars are outflowed to other countries for other reasons, for wars, for whoever to defend themselves, for their whatever's going on before we start hey, that has got to stop. But my thought is I feel like it's calculated, because then if it was made sense, if there's logic behind that would just stop. Oop, let's fix this. What we got here. This is something's wrong here. Let's fix that first. But that's not happening.
No, because who's going to fix it? The people who receive the campaign contributions from the big defense companies, the people who won't get elected if they say no to the new Air Force or Navy or Army futures project, and those factories get shut down because they're in their congressional. There's a reason why they're all spread. All those factories are spread out into different congressional districts.
Yeah.
There's a reason why big companies, whether it's pharma or military industrial, donate to both parties. They don't pick a winner. They make sure they bought anybody and everybody. So
Yep.
who's going to fix it? People who won't vote for term limits, the people who won't vote for
Right.
divesting their stocks and their interests, the people who won't get prosecuted for insider trading. Who's going to stop them?
No, dude.
The voters?
Dude,
The voters who
that's
then also
yeah.
work in those factories, who, when you have Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell saying, oh, we have to, don't worry, the $300 billion
dude.
that we've spent to Ukraine, it's not actually leaving the United States. It's an investment back. So war's good for
Oh
us
my
as
God,
Americans.
dude.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
It's our
the most
chief export. It's our
insane
chief
thing
product.
yeah. To hear those guys talk about that, and it's so
War
nuts
is
where
good for
they've like,
America. Wait, what?
God damn. Because like
Yeah.
I feel like we both, it's probably some point we're just like, let's get after it. And then now I feel like you have a family in hindsight, and you
Yeah.
have, some serious experiences. Really, when I got out of the Marine Corps, where I'm like, diving into everything and, searching around, and I'm like, wait, what? Pearl Harbor? Like, and your quote there is like, no, dude, like there is 100%. We knew Pearl Harbor prior. We let it happen because Roosevelt knew, and whoever his bros were like, we have to have this to get the people's opinion for us to go into the war so I can get elected next year, or we should, something like that.
And if history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not a slippery slope to say, did we know 9/11 was going to happen?
There's
And
some
did we maybe,
incredible coincidences around it,
I, I
that
just got to look at building. I'm not
yeah,
going to say if it was a missile or a plane that hit the Pentagon. I just look at building 7.
yeah. Well,
It didn't, nothing hit that.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think
What was
that's like
inside
where
it? Yeah.
we're exactly. It was like we get into these topics, and like this is why. Like I remember seeing, and I probably heard it before, but I was in Aspen with my wife's family,
Mhm.
and I picked up this book at this little cafe, and it was like some guy who lived in Aspen. It was like dissident artist, and I'm like, I think it was like after I got out, I'm like, okay, I get it.